Okay, looks like we're live, except for my camera.
Yeah, there's something weird going on there.
Yeah, it has been for a couple of weeks. It's been doing that periodically. I don't know why. I can't find it anywhere. Anyway, welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. First off, I apologize for being out of pocket for the last couple of weeks. It's been some insanity around here, and nobody was able to take the show, so we're back. How's everybody been doing?
Getting ready to launch my make $1,000 a day with Chat GPT program.
No way.
It's only $99.
All you need is 10 in a day.
No, there's actually, if you do a quick search for make money with Chat GPT right now, holy cow, is it blowing up?
There's probably 50 videos on YouTube about it.
Yeah. And a lot of them are like, make $1,000 a day. And
oh no, make 300,000 a year writing prompts.
right. Well, the problem is there's websites like Clark's World. It's a sci-fi fantasy website, and they normally have 20 or 30 submissions a month. Last month they had over 500 because they pay 12 cents a word. And it's like them and a handful of other of these types of websites where you can submit your own short stories and get paid are just getting slammed with submissions now. And none of it's being written by people. It's all being written by Chat GPT. And it gets real obvious because so many of the stories that are getting submitted are so similar because they're all using the same prompts.
I was reading yesterday or this morning. I can't remember, but anyway, there's a publisher, a book publisher with the same problem. They all of a sudden they got all these submissions and they all got rejected because they were all just AI written stuff.
See, but just because it's done with AI, I don't think that makes it crap. It's like any other creative things. It's as good as the creator, and
That's right.
What he can do with it.
Agree. Well, and we go through this with every industry whenever there's a new technology. When I was in the jewelry industry and CAD/CAM came in and people started doing 3D milling and 3D printing for jewelry, all of a sudden the old school jewelers lost their minds. That's not real jewelry making. It's like, yeah, but the stuff you're doing is not real jewelry making to the guys 100 years before you.
Right.
You're using pre-made pieces versus hand fabricated from raw metal.
But that's different.
Yeah, it's different. So I personally, I don't have a problem with the AI. I have a problem with the way it's used.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Terry.
No, I agree. Nothing to add to that.
Did you guys saw about the guy who did the kids book that was written by ChatGPT and then illustrated by Mjolnir or Midjourney? and he's selling copies of it on Amazon. Yeah. And of course, that has several child book authors losing their minds.
I'll only say this. My experience with writers is it doesn't take much to do that if you start talking about what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a good friend, like just because I said writers are a dime a dozen, basically ghosted me. And it was a fact. They're a fucking dime a dozen.
Yep. Right. And they're
a good one, that's a rare, but they are a dime a dozen.
But you can say that about pretty much every industry, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have, by definition, the average person of an industry has 50% of it better than they are.
Well, I'd like to think I'm smarter than 50% of the people doing what we're doing.
Right. I'm just,
But
I'm
that's
just
not a
really
big bar, is it? Really?
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion that all this talk about Bard and Bing, right? I will not be surprised if it's neither one that wins, and some smaller company, just like Google was, in a garage going against these other huge companies, beat the crap out of them.
Could be. That is certainly possible. We've seen it before.
I guarantee it, because the
Well-
other companies not nimble enough to be in the game of innovation.
I just shared a screen of the chart of the number of submissions to Clark's World based on, by month.
Look at that graph.
Whoa.
In February when it gets released.
It got so bad, they've had to stop accepting submissions.
Wow.
And that's just terrible.
It's somewhat ironic that they're a science fiction house.
Exactly. Well, who's it? Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying that historically, people don't treat each other very well. So he's hoping that our AI overlords treat us better than we treat ourselves.
They won't,
some
because
merit to
they're
that.
trained on us.
Yeah, it can't be any
What was
better.
that?
Not it's trained by us.
I've always believed in the likelihood of the old science fiction theory being that our robot overlords will eventually wipe us off the planet as a pestilence, and well deserved.
We're a virus. Yeah, there was another article put out, I don't remember if it was Columbia University, about how easy it is to poison the data that the AI is being used to train.
Why do you think they don't use live data? That it's all got to be checked before. That's why if they go to that kind of a situation where they're crawling stuff and it gets added to the training set right away, it'll only come from certain authority sites that they trust. Everybody else will be maybe in the search results, but they won't be in the training set. And I think that will be the ultimate goal. Get your content into the training set.
Yeah. Getting into Google Scholar. One of our old friends who's no longer with us used to throw a fit every time you told him he was trying to manipulate the algorithm. Reached out to me once because my wife's published in Google Scholar in a lot of places. And he's like, so what did she do to get in there? And it's like, something scholarly.
I love it.
I mean,
Yeah.
technically, as SEOs, everything we do is manipulation.
But already Google knows most of the authority sites out there now because they've been doing authority for years.
But then you have sites that, quote unquote, should be authority sites who admitted to using AI content.
Mhm. Well, and at the same time, let's say, in terms of determining what is an authority site when talking about chat bots, about Chat GPT, for instance, that's such a new area. It's almost impossible for them to have a corpus to work from yet. And how, there's so much crap being generated about it by people who don't know what the hell they're talking about, by people who are talking about it via Chat GPT.
I will say this. I think Google knows every writer. When they write, they know if they're an authority on the topic or not.
I could imagine them having scored writers with some sort of a veracity factor, based upon how many times they have been caught saying things that were inaccurate. I could understand them doing that, and it would make perfect sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense on the knowledge graph too, to attach an author to a fact in the knowledge graph, right? Author and like and I think links will mainly be about establishing credibility. Won't be a vote anymore. It'll be a credibility thing.
Which would make perfect sense.
Yeah. Because right now, 90% of the crap content in Google's results is there because of links, nothing else. Or they picked a really good target keyword where there's no competition, right?
Yeah.
And then you can throw any kind of shit at it because it's going to, if there's like only 1 or 2 pages on the whole web about that subject, they're going to be in it. And they're going to be in the top.
Well, let's see how long will it be before Google follows Twitter and Facebook and starts selling blue check marks.
God.
I've said for a long time, if they do GPT type search engine, you're going to have to pay for access. Just like you're going to see the cost of some Microsoft products that are having AI added into them. I expect to see an increase in those products, the price. Which all I'd have to do is look at my spreadsheets on my business for the last 10 years, and I'd see exactly how much it went up from the first day I got on to now.
Well, following that train of thought a minute, Terry, I don't know, probably everybody saw there was just a 25% jump in cost for Screaming Frog, which is a hell of a big jump at one time for something particularly that was already overly expensive. What do you think the chances are they might have managed to introduce some sort of AI into their system, and that's how they're trying to compensate?
No,
because Dan would tell you if he had AI, if he was using AI, he would tell you.
You think so?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've had many conversations with Dan. That's why I'm so supportive of his tool, is that reason. He's a good guy who looks out for his customer and knows his shit.
Having said that, though, the other half of Screaming Frog, the agency, might be using AI and need to pay for it, in which case they're funding it through the crawler. But I can't see where they would be using AI in the crawler at the moment, unless they're doing something new to add on to it or a new tool. But I can't see it.
Compare the cost of Screaming Frog to SEM Rush or any of the other programs. It's cheaper by far.
Yes, but for what it's doing, it isn't. So the crawls from SEMrush is a tiny part of their suite. It's also not anywhere near as good as Screaming Frog. So,
what is Siteball per month?
That's a good question.
I'm thinking it's $14.99 for the basic. If I'm not mistaken.
So that's what 14. That's like almost 200 American per year.
Yeah, about
same cost as Screaming Frog, and it doesn't do as much.
Oh, I don't know. I think it does.
Oh, okay.
If you know how to dig into it.
I'll have to admit, I have never looked at another program that does anything that Screaming Frog does.
Sitebulb does a good job. The one thing I like about Sitebulb is you can drill down deep without having to hunt for stuff.
Right.
Basically everything in Sitebulb is clickable, and you can get another layer in and get more information. Whereas a lot of that information is available with Screaming Frog, but you got to know where to look for it. It's a little bit harder. It's not as user friendly.
Right. The user interface is much better on Sitebulb.
Yeah.
mean, okay.
And
But-
now it is significantly less expensive because of this recent raise on Screaming Frog, which tells me that Sightbulb is probably going to be
Yeah.
content to just be a little bit cheaper. So they'll probably be jumping their price shortly too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Well, they've just brought the server version out, which you can run on a virtual server, which is quite a bit more expensive. I think
Oh, yeah.
it's I can't remember what it is now, but to the point where I didn't even want to play with it because it's so expensive. And I don't have a need for the full version.
Yeah.
But if you've got sites and millions of pages on it, then it's probably a good idea to go for that server version. You can just let it run in the background. And then come back next day and have a see what's spat out. But for desktop versions, the normal Sightbulb one is and Screaming Frog is my main arsenal for my audits, and I do use them slightly differently. Probably Screaming Frog for when I have a question in my head and I need to go and look at something on a site. I'll use Screaming Frog, but if I'm doing an audit, I'll tend to use Sightbulb. But I do use both at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Proves
The other thing
interesting.
that I like about Screaming Frog is when you try to generate a report with Sightbulb, you can download all that stuff in spreadsheet format, but then you got to build it, build the spreadsheet to make it intelligible. Whereas Screaming Frog spits it out in a pretty consumable format.
Yeah, I like that you could, any error that you found, you could separate those pages and just do a CSV download, hand that to the customer, and they got everything they need to do what they have to do. Or if it's for me, it's internal. But I can show that to the customer and say, look, you got hundreds of errors, here they are. Right? That's what I liked about it, the ability to and also gather any kind of information you want using their customization. And I don't know, does Sightbulb allow you to pull in GSC and all those other
Yep.
into a thing? Okay.
And
Which
you can
makes it
separate
for
out.
me, I found when I was importing that data too, I could make a report just by downloading it all, saving the parts that I wanted in the CSV, and then can just hand it to the client or use it for whatever I wanted it for. But it's mainly, I started using Screaming Frog when it came out of like as soon as it came out, because I had my own spider that wasn't as good. And I thought, oh, wow, I don't have to maintain this anymore. And, sure, it's expensive. It's always been expensive. To me, it always has. But then when I look at the tools, I always say they're all way overpriced. Like,
Well, I mean, I think most of them are priced fairly. Just, the problem is we've all, SEOs by nature are cheap people. We don't like to pay for things. But I mean, realistically, one client pays for all your tools for the month.
right.
Yep, exactly.
There are some issues where you have some services that
Like
get
what I
more
never
expensive
got,
for no
right,
reason.
was, for instance, like SEM Rush.
Mhm.
Well, all I could really do was Google, because if I wanted to do 2 other search engines, that triples the price of it. Right? Because they charge by the freaking keyword. Now, I understood charging by the keywords when storage and stuff was very expensive. Right? Now storage is like, it's almost like they're giving it away.
I got to think,
$14 for 2 what we
well,
use.
and you've got them and like SpyFu. Their bandwidth has to be super expensive to be able to keep their data up to date. It's insane how deep their data goes. And what I like SpyFu, for example, like I'll do a search every once in a while, they'll just have no data. And they're like, nope, don't have any data on this. But I come back 2 weeks later and they now they do. Because I was the first person to ask that for that specific set of websites or whatever. And so they're really good at, filling out their data as it goes, but still, the amount of money and effort they spend crawling. And then when you have, Google go, by the way, we're going to change the way the API works and how much that costs. Good luck. Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
That's just my, point of view. That's why I didn't use tools much.
Right.
Just never saw them as paying for themselves. Because I'm more of a guy who likes to look at things, not look at numbers and data. Doesn't tell me nothing. It's just numbers on a fucking page. When I can go and look at the page and actually see it, it does a lot more for me. Just like even though I had a rank checker, I still went to the most important SERPs and viewed them monthly to, know what's happening. Who's the new guy in town? Because that's what a rank checker doesn't tell you is what's the other 9 guys in the first page doing.
Give
Well,
me some
plus-
historic.
Plus being able to determine, did my site drop in the rankings or did some competitor rise?
Right. Who pushed me down? Why did I go up? Why did I go down? Yeah, that's what you get. Plus, I would have noticed right away when Google started to get intent, I saw it right away. Because I actually went to the SERP and saw that, hey, the SERPs are changing. They understand better what's going on here.
There's still a lot of people who have not evolved into entity search.
Oh, fuck no.
Oh,
Man.
And then they keep talking about fun things like keyword cannibalization. And,
yeah.
and it's like,
Which, to me, even when keywords was a thing, I didn't think there is such a thing as cannibalization, because my job is to get all 10 listings on the first page if I can.
that is my favorite thing to see in like the Facebook groups when somebody comes in and goes, well, I've got this web page that ranks really, really well for this term, but it's not the page that I want to rank really well. And it's like, okay, how can I get Google to switch them? You can't? How about you put your call to action on the page that ranks and go forward from there?
Or link to the other page from the page that ranks. That helps too.
Yeah, I just am constantly baffled at the how low the ability of people to think clearly when it comes to SEO is. They've read a PDF somewhere, a couple of forum posts, and they're like, I'm SEO now.
They're an expert.
Yeah, I used to drive Dave nuts because he'd start talking about mapping keywords. And I just say, yeah, waste of time.
Yeah. Now I get that it is important even at this point to have a good grasp of what keywords are doing well. And, it really comes important when, business owners want to know what they rank for. My favorite ones are the vanity searches. And it's like, this particular search doesn't make you any money. Yeah, but I still want to rank number 1 for it. Okay.
Whatever blows the dress.
Will do.
Yeah. And then we get to start, doing in-depth research on what are your competitors doing? How are they number 1? And all of this stuff is so time intensive and takes so long to implement in some cases. It's a hard battle. And, I know somebody was working with a client who was only willing to spend, $300 or $400 a month. And it's like, but you understand that your competitors are spending probably 10 grand, right? That's showing up to the drag strip for an NHRA race in your Pinto. You don't always have to have the same budget, but you at least need to be in the same city or willing to do the work.
One of my favorite things to do at the moment for my clients is rather than keywords gaps is topic gap analysis. So
Yes.
I like to do that to find out what the competition are talking about that my client's not. That's a great thing to take into and say, you're not talking about these things. And there may be a very good reason why they're not, as there often is. If you go and look at the competitors, you quite often find that some competitors, only a portion of their business is like my clients, and therefore we have to ignore all the rest. And I don't really want to go through 20,000 keywords, getting rid of all the bits that are of the other part of the business that's got nothing to do with it. But there we go. That's why I rather look for topics.
Yeah, I don't think in the terms of keywords anymore. I think in
No.
terms of queries. So I'm working on this query, not keywords, because
well,
that's basically what keywords always were, was a query.
I haven't done keyword research in several years because I've been focused more on context. Now that Google can pretty well tell what the page is about, talk about what the page is about. You will find some of the keywords and related terms, in your writing. It's just naturally gonna be there.
They just
But-
naturally show up. Yep.
Yeah, and natural is a good thing.
Because Google counts entities, not
Yeah.
keywords.
Yep.
Right? Keywords can be entities, right?
Sure.
Remember back in the old days when we used to create customer avatars?
Yeah.
It's like we're kind of circled back to that. It's like, what is your customer looking for? What are they going to be searching for? What kind of information do they need to make the decision to use you or buy your stuff or whatever? And a lot of businesses don't have a handle of, their customers are everybody in the world.
Yeah.
No. The only person who might have that as a customer is somebody who's, selling oxygen.
I think about audiences, not customers necessarily. I'm more looking for a certain type of audience, which is gonna meet the characteristics of the people that I want to get in front of.
Right.
Like,
But people with money to spend.
There you go.
I spent a lot of time when I was doing office space. I spent a lot of time on building a PDF on how to start a business in Canada. Had nothing to do with office space, but it had a lot to do with the customers we were trying to draw, which was people from the United States to set up a business here, because you have to have an address. And what do they use? A virtual address.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
gave them all the resources to be able to do it. Showed them that instead of costing them thousands of dollars, they could actually do it for less than 100. Well, not including the lawyer that you have to pay to be on your board, but there's, yeah.
So we've been playing a lot with Google business profiles lately. And we're running across an issue now where we have a client who's had a GVP profile for 10 years. One that he did not create, one that Google created for him. And so we went ahead and this is ours. We want control, used an email address from that domain name and went, okay, they have moved. They're no longer at this address that you have a picture of that's a field. It's actually in this office building. Well, that office building also happens to have virtual office space. That's not him. He has a real office, but it has virtual office space in it. And within 10 minutes, that account was suspended.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
I mean, just bam, just like that. And so then I had to send them the, business paperwork from the state and pictures of the signage and pictures of all this stuff. And they reinstated the profile, but they've stripped everything out of it. All the reviews, all the pictures, everything's gone. And so the first thing I went to do was change the phone number to his new phone number. And it's like, we're waiting to verify this. And then I changed the address to the real address. And now it's suspended again. It's like, oh.
Has anyone, has anyone working with the new, Google the listing, what is it? Google has a rating thing now.
Looker?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not advertising, and it says it's incomplete.
I have a client. I read that the other day, and I thought, "Oh, crikey! I better go and check my little local client, who which is our local florist, and she moved to another village." So I had a very similar situation to Steve's, and because I suddenly looked at her business profile one day, and it said, "This business is permanently closed." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's just moved." So we got that sorted out. Fortunately, we didn't lose everything. But yeah, I saw that thing and saying that you got to have a Google ad account, and she doesn't. But she's got a green 100% on it. Not that she's bothered about it anyway. But I read that, I thought, oh, panic. I had a look and thought, well, no, there's no advertising account with that. But I have one. But I don't use it. I just signed up for it and I never use it. So maybe it's using my one for that. I'm not sure how I've got it set up, but that's the answer. Just set one up, don't use it.
But I've seen that before, where it's like complete your profile setup, start an ad account. It's like, why is that even part of the process?
Yeah.
Because we're Google.
Yeah,
It's a sales lead, and it's very obvious it's a sales lead as soon as you start using words like that. I'm not even trying to hide it anymore.
Here, we're going to give you $500 for advertising, but you got to spend $500 first.
Yes.
Right.
So one of the things that Dave Davis's article mentioned, which I rather liked, was that with all this AI coming on, SEO is going to change a lot, except for technical SEO. I thought, yeah, result for me. I don't have to worry about anything, and I kind of do and don't. But he's absolutely bang on. I thought that was the most bang on thing there, is that technical SEO is tootling off by itself, and it's not going to change, not really, not until somebody brings out something else to replace the web. It may get more automated, but the other side of things, the other parts of SEO, the content, etc., yeah, that's going to change, as we're seeing already this year. I think we'll look back in the future and say 2023, it all changed.
This will be the good old days,
except for technical SEO.
So has anybody else noticed that Bing has removed the ads from desktop? They're in a hidden div now.
No.
Yeah, I'm seeing that right now, as a matter of fact.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's totally against the law.
Whoa. I'm not used to seeing a picture as the background of a search engine.
Yeah, that means you've got access to the new one. Did you ask for it?
No, I haven't been on Bing in a very long time.
Oh, I've also got a picture and I haven't got access. I'm still on the waiting list unless I install Bing app on my phone or I switch my PC search engine to Bing. I'm on a Mac, so that's not happening. So I'm still waiting to play with it.
Yeah, I apparently have the updated version, but I'm on a US VPN too, so.
Yeah, I just got the OpenAI they're just released it in Canada. Oh yeah, they are. They're actually hiding ads.
Well, you say that's illegal.
It is. It's against the law.
I would argue that there are ways to do that legally.
The law says anything that's sponsored has to be labeled as such. Right? So they have no label there at all that says it's an ad, unless you click the little down arrow, right? And then it isn't an ad. It says, learn how your ads are chosen. So they're not even really showing ads in it either.
I can't
Okay.
see that. I can see an ads panel on the right that's got ads. That's
I don't
right.
have any ads on my page. I just have those drop down things that says learn how your ads are chosen. But these are definitely ads, some of what I'm seeing. And it pushes their stuff now. Any real search results are pushed down below the fold.
So I'm seeing an ad and it says ad.
Oh, okay.
Oh my.
Must be just me then.
Well, I'm still scrolling. I want to see what else
But
happened.
I don't see any ads at all. So,
Well, I'm only seeing one so far.
You're in the
oh, I
Great
know
White
what it
North.
could be too. Could be the search. There are no ads on that search.
Could be.
Ah,
Yeah,
that
because Google only has a couple and they aren't really that targeted.
oh wait,
I just searched. I
I
searched
got
for
a
credit
second
cards.
ad and it says ad also. Okay, but way down, I had to scroll way down.
But it's it looks like a result, like, but when you click on the down button, instead of saying cached, it says learn how ads are chosen for you. So that's its way of telling me it's an ad.
It doesn't have, it's not as recognizable as it is on Google, but there's a little thing, it's so tiny, way down here like this thing, that says ad.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe,
that probably doesn't pass the sniff test either, because when Google, they were coloring the label yellow and you could hardly see it on the page. And they got called on that.
Listen, I saw somebody on LinkedIn who was a former Googler whose main job at Google was to blend the ads into search in a way that was, both legal and inobtrusive. And then somebody posted a chart showing how the ads started looking in a beige box, so they were obvious, all the way down to what they are now. There's this tiny little microscopic ad right next to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
the
saw
reply
that
was,
thread.
"Thanks for the hard work."
And they also were coloring that yellow, and the FTC told them they had to change that. That it wasn't easily recognizable.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see a lot more of that. And it doesn't surprise me that the same ads I see there on their site are the same ones I get every morning when I open the browser and look at my news feed. It's full of sites that I went to yesterday.
yep,
Like, I wouldn't buy from Moz, right? Never been to their site, but somehow I get a ton of their ads.
They're doing lookalike audiences.
I
Most
was
likely.
looking at some SEO software, and all of a sudden I started getting like anything to do with SEO, like
Yep.
yeah.
So much money is wasted on retargeting ads. Yes, I know that they do work in certain instances, but my God, people spend so much money on them and they don't work.
Well, like the one we were talking about earlier this morning.
Yeah. Whatever. It's frustrating because you look at a lot of the gurus who are going on and on about what works for them without any qualification of their statement saying you need to test this for yourself, because not every product is a good fit for this type of thing.
Yep.
And it can get painful.
Yeah. Something might sell like hotcakes on Facebook, but you couldn't give it away on Google.
Yeah. And vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you have to practice, scatter a whole bunch of ads, figure out which ones are working, and put all your money there.
Yeah. Double and triple down.
Yeah.
So how does it work, Steve, when you buy a product and then all of a sudden you're flooded with, this happens especially on Facebook, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to sell you the product.
Well,
you
on
just bought, man.
Instagram too. You buy this thing, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden they've never even interacted with you on that social media platform. And as soon as you buy the thing, you get flooded with ads for the thing you just bought. That one I don't get.
So what they're doing is they're doing half of the process. The full process is you retarget to people who look at either specific pages or specific products, or if you're selling a general service, just the homepage, which is the least effective.
Right.
But you also, on the other side of that, you have to have an exclusion audience that says, if they got to, finished a checkout procedure, don't
Remove 'em.
advertise to them.
Nobody does that I know of, Steve.
I forget what it used to be called. I mean, I wrote about this, good Lord, 4 or 5 years ago, about how to set up those accounts and to make them work that way. Part of the problem now is with iOS stripping so much of the data.
Yeah.
We don't always have all the information throughout the whole process.
I see.
And so you have to make some good estimates as far as that. So the easiest solution to that then is you restrict the number of times a person can see an ad, which is easier to do on Facebook than it is on Google. Because like on Facebook, we can say, we don't want somebody to see an ad more than 5 or 6 times.
Right.
And then, they'll see it because like Facebook will do impressions and reach. Impressions is how many people they showed the ad to. Reach is how many people slowed down enough to look at it. And then you have people who actually interacted with it by clicking on it. And those are 3 wildly different numbers. And you'll see a lot of ad agencies go, 100 million people saw your ad. So yeah, but only 3 people bought.
Right.
This is not the Super Bowl. We're not putting this out there just to get famous. They need to end up at a product page, and the inability to follow through it's hard. It is very hard to run these ads properly. It's really easy to half-ass them, but like with our liquor store client, we hit 12 to 1 ROI with them. I'm not touching those ads. I'm not even going to breathe on them. They're at 12 to 1.
Yeah.
You just run. Be happy. And, because the grand scheme of things, I don't know why it's 12 to 1. Maybe we're just lucky and targeted a section of the city that really likes to drink.
Sounds like my kind of place.
There you go. My next big client issue is got a client who's got a whole bunch of listings everywhere. And Google picked the one negative listing to make prominent. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. There's 400 other listings you could have grabbed that would have been fine, wouldn't have cared. But no, you grabbed the one bad one out of all of these.
You mean reviews, Steve?
I'll explain it to you offline. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I just find it kind of funny. Which makes me wonder if the reputation management companies are out there finding bad things about people randomly and just promoting them. And Simon's going, uh-huh.
That's as old as the internet, that one.
Mhm.
I forget the name of the place that used to do reviews, and if you didn't like somebody, you went and wrote a bad review and put it on that site. It was almost guaranteed to be on the front page of Google.
I should
For their
probably
name.
do some link research on that particular item and see what's pointed at it. What I'd also like is something in schema where that's similar to this is also me, but this is not me.
Oh, wouldn't that be great, huh?
That would be cool.
It would be cool because like for me, I was shocked at how many people have my name. And, you know,
Wow.
one of them is a political professor at IU, which is ridiculous because my wife worked with him, which was very weird. But there are other people with my name, which is a relatively rare name. And it would be nice to be able to say when people type in my name, this is me. Group all of me together, group all of them together. I don't care which one comes up first.
I wonder how hard, if they were ever to come out with that ability, you know, this is not me.
This is
How
not me.
hard would it be then for me, if I've got a bad review out there, to simply disown it?
That was my ulterior motive.
See, but what you could do, Steve, is put a bio up on a site and point at same as and your
Yeah.
bio. That's
There you
going to be important. Like,
That's a thought.
I was thinking about the double eat.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to make what I call my master biography or bio that will list every job I've ever had and everything I've ever done professionally in my life.
Yeah.
I'm glad you put that professionally in there, T.
Yeah. There's some things that, you know, there's about 20 years that
Yeah.
are missing.
Yeah, I probably should go edit my steveg.com then. There's some stuff on there I probably shouldn't have put.
Yeah. Ignore this window in my bio, this 8 to 10 years.
Oh, when I finally
really
did
hungry.
income tax, it was 16 years that I hadn't filed income tax. When the guy asked me, I just said, well, I didn't have a job. He looked at me and said, how did you? Well, I got by.
I got by. I have generous friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couch surfed for 16 years.
Yeah. Those good old days.
I did hear somebody mention last week that if you've got a gap in your CV, the best thing and somebody says, why have you got this 2-year gap in your CV? You say, well, I can't talk about that. I'm under an NDA.
There you go. That's a brilliant answer.
It is, isn't it?
I used to have when we lived in California, because we were military, we were residents of New Mexico. And like when my driver's license and things needed to be redone, I couldn't go there. So they just sent me ones without pictures on them. Talk about fun to mess with people. Because somebody go, well, let me see your driver's license. And I pull out a driver's license and say, why isn't there a picture on it? It's like, well, I'm not allowed to be photographed. Why? I can't tell you that.
I love it. Or I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
No, I would not have to kill you, but I would have somebody have it done. It was so much fun. Made it even more entertaining to intentionally go to those DUI roadblocks. Where are you coming from? That way. Where are you going? That way.
That way.
What are you doing out this late at night? Driving. Are you just screwing with us? Yes. I even tried to use the "I'm not the droid you're looking for" answer a few times.
Did it ever work?
No, it never worked. All it did was make them mad.
And he works with Star Wars fans.
Yes. Although I did have one of them, one of my delivery drivers when I ran the Domino's pulled up, and the officer's like, "What are you doing out this late at night?" And he's like wearing a Domino's uniform with a Domino's sign lit up on the roof of his car. And he's just looking at the guy like, "How stupid are you?"
Oh, you're going to say, these are not the pizzas you're looking for.
Oh, I've dealt with some real winners over the years when it comes to the police departments. What was there was one more thing I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember what it was now. I blame Terry.
I installed Python the other day.
Nice.
Yep, starting something new, 69.
Very good. I installed Python in my Drobo drive, and that's now dead.
Hmm.
Not, I'm trying to put you off or anything, Terry. But I've got to send my Drobo off to I've got a Drobo for backup storage, and I did install Python on that, and I was started to teach myself some Python. Then the whole thing just died. But that's because of power cut, not Python. It's a good thing to learn, Terry. And I must get back to it myself because it can be very, very useful. Especially if you do stuff.
I want to do some named entity retrieval, and Python's the best thing to do that with, because I'm thinking I'll get 1,000 queries, run a Python script over them, and then analyze the entities and their locations and compare that with the ranking. And I think over 1,000 queries, you could get a pretty good idea of how they're scoring it, almost like we did in the early days with figuring out where you place the keywords in the document to get the most effectiveness, right?
That'll be interesting to see what you learn from that.
I think it's a lot more important than people actually realize.
The entities, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which ones are in a document and how they're used, etc.
Dixon Jones put out, he wrote a really great little book on entities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of should be required reading anymore for modern SEO.
Yeah.
It does a great job of it's actually on my list to reread again, sitting on my stack. It's a great explanation of how search has changed and evolved and what entities are and how to go about building that for your website. I'll have to look and see if I can find that.
Well, when you think about it, NLP and NER, like two of the main things that are big part of GPT type programs like Chat GPT, right? Is they understand entities and language, which enables them to talk like a person and summarize things because they understand the words. That's one thing that I will say GPT is really good for. Summarizing a document. Hand it a document and it'll take the 2,000 words I write and condense it down to 200 and get the same important points across that I made in the thing, because that's one thing I tried to do. However, when I gave it the exact same document and said, pull the named entities out of it and count them, it didn't find all the named entities and couldn't even count the ones that it found properly.
I
That's
think
when
that
I
I
said,
mentioned
yeah,
this the other day,
Yep,
Terry,
yep.
that I did a similar thing with, find the entities in this document. And it found some, but not all, but I didn't ask it to count them.
Oh, counting, I thought should be in programming, that's 101. After you learn hello world, count is one of the next things you learn. So I was, that told me this has no intelligence whatsoever. You're talking to a parrot, basically.
Right. You are
Mhm.
talking to a parrot. And I think all the way back to where we started at the beginning with, all those AI written stories is their parrots. It's recorded parrot speak.
And even worse, they're lying parrots.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're misinformed parrots. They're not lying
Yeah.
intentionally.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Misinformed parrots. Yeah.
Misinformed parrots. Where the
Which
heck
reminds
are
me,
those pieces of 8?
if you have a parrot and you haven't taught it to say, "Help, I'm a human stuck inside a parrot," then you haven't done your job
What's the-
properly.
What's the point of having a parrot?
When my son was a teenager, we had a cockatiel, not the same as a parrot, but we were trying to teach him various things to say. And my son said, "Mom, you need to teach him to say pieces of ass." And I'm like, okay, only a teenager would come up with that one.
When I was a kid, I was probably 12, 14 years old. We had a neighbor, old guy, a widower down the street. He had 2 parrots. And he must have spent 20 hours a day teaching these parrots to say off the wall shit. And he, stuff like, hide the body.
I love it.
He was a kicker, but he'd go out and he'd put these birds one on each shoulder, and he'd walk around out in the lawn, cutting the grass or watering the lawn or pruning his roses, and the birds would never fly off. They'd ride. And when people would come walking down the sidewalk, the parrots would start talking to them and saying sometimes very embarrassing stuff. Well, legs go all the way up to her.
I love it.
Yeah. Mm.
The world needs more people like that.
There you go.
As long as one of us finds it funny, that's all that matters.
I thought it was funny. That's really was my goal.
I did put the link to Dixon's book in our little chat if somebody wants to add that to the description on the YouTube video later.
Will do.
It is definitely worth a read and very useful. And it's free on Kindle and $14 if you actually want a paperback version.
He's writing a new book. I think it was LinkedIn. He's writing in a new book, and he was taking informational. How did it work? It was some Google form where you talked about your experience with AI, what that meant, and what you saw for the future. I've forgotten all the ramifications of it, and I put something in, and I said, I'm not sure this is book worthy because what my experience with AI hasn't been that particularly successful when it comes to words. So I don't know. Anyway, he is writing a new book.
Well, let's hope he's not using AI to write it.
I was just thinking the same thing. I could use ChatGPT to write a book on how to make money using ChatGPT.
No, wasn't that $1,000 a day, Steve?
Yeah, that's what they're claiming. There's a whole bunch of, if you do a quick search for make money with ChatGPT, there's half a dozen videos out already.
Whoa.
It's terrifying.
Well, actually,
But not at all.
I published one of my writing articles yesterday, and I was talking about, bringing the setting of the scene, bringing it to life with how the characters interact with what's in the environment rather than saying it was a bright and sunny day and blah blah blah, you know. And one of my friends commented, won't Chat GPT do that for me? You mean I actually have to use my own words? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I found with I haven't experimented recently, but what I found in the last year and a half or so with any kind of AI story writing assistant was that it could write action, but that's the problem. It can't interpret emotions because it doesn't have emotions.
Right. I would assume that it wouldn't be very good at writing a mystery novel either.
No, it was crap at, pardon me, FTC. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it just like, as long as if it was action adventure or maybe sci-fi action, kind of, I can see how it goes because it knows how to do one action and then the next action and then the next action, right? But as far as hiding things or subtext or any of the things that just forget mysteries for the moment, but make any, good novel reading worthy, it can't do that.
Well, like for instance, talking about the subject doing something in a suspicious manner or in a threatening manner, I would think that even that would be difficult for it to represent.
Yeah. Anyway, all the experiments that I did with it, and they aren't recent, anybody who's watching, it was a total fail. It was just it was like, who would read this? This doesn't even make any sense.
So it's a heist novel.
Anyway, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so far that seems to be one of its shortcomings. It doesn't know how to interpret or use human feelings, in spite of the big falderall that happened last week with Bing and the AI going ballistic. It doesn't, that's it. It doesn't understand what the emotional impact of whatever it's doing is doing.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting over the next months, years to see the evolution. It's got to improve.
Yeah.
Can't get much worse.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
Bing
don't give it
already-
that challenge.
Bing's already cut down the session time. Like, you can't be on that thing. The guy who got it to say it loved him and wanted to marry him and all that crap, he was on it for 2 hours prompting it.
Yeah.
So they put a time limit now on. I would say they shouldn't allow more than 2 or 3 prompts in a row. Otherwise, you should be doing that on your desktop, which is where I think a lot of it will happen. It won't happen as a search engine. Like, that's what I think people are really wrong about is, do you think Microsoft cares whether you search on, whether you do your AI work on their desktop or on Bing? They probably prefer it be on their desktop where they're totally in control and they can tell what you're doing.
Well, yeah, but then by the same token, if you were doing it on your desktop, what corpus is it going to work on?
Yeah.
Unless you have a
The
handful
same
of
one
documents.
that it'll be like like an API connection to OpenAI.
I don't know if that's going to gain a lot in terms of machine load, though, for them, which I suspect is a big driver behind them limiting things.
Right.
Who knows?
I figure all the cheap GPT scammers will go away as soon as they start charging for it.
There you go.
Oh yeah, and they aren't gonna. It isn't going to. It isn't going to be free much longer because I think.
Yeah.
I think the 1 or 2 prompts that they put in there, they should be able to do. Like, you can't be on that thing. I think was it OpenAI said something like 100 million so far they're in the hole from
Yeah.
just this little
Holy shit.
experiment,
Wow.
you know.
Well, I did
Yep.
actually spot an extra little thing in Wix. They now have a little piece where you can, when you're generating titles and pieces of content, they have ChatGPT built in to the CMS now. You can just press a button and it will generate stuff for you. And I can see that. I'm not surprised that they're really early with this. And then again, I am a little bit. But I can see other platforms doing exactly that, and they'll pay for it. They'll pay for it to GPT, etc. They'll pay for it for that to be in their CMS. And I think we'll see that elsewhere. We'll see it within tools, all sorts of tools, and it'll be the big companies paying for it, and it kind of disappear from people, the public. But we'll see it in tools. Well, let's see. It's going to be a very interesting year.
Well, search will
Agreed.
always be a natural extension of that program. Because if you want to have current results, you have to pretty well be a search engine. You might as well be a search engine crawling websites.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's whether you want that crap in your training set or not.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the real SEO challenge is going to be in the future, not getting into the results. It'll be like the featured snippet stuff, right?
Yep.
Getting into the training. So
It'll be interesting to watch.
we are past the top of the hour. Doc mentioned it in chat and we all ignored him.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'm married. I'm used to it.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for this week, everybody. It's good seeing you all.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
And
everyone.
have a good week.
Have a good one.